Hey guys, it's LegoXY, and today I'll be talking about my first experience dungeon mastering. Now, if you don't know, I have never dungeon mastered other than this. Well, sorry, dungeon mastered. DM'd before this experience, and this is actually very recent. Because I am not, as you can probably tell from my videos, the most experienced player. I'm actually very new to it, I'm just really into it even though I'm new to it. So, basic layout. Like, about a month before New Year's Eve, my mom suggests, hey, maybe you could do a New Year's Eve D&D game with Henry. I say, that sounds awesome. We work out the kinks and the details, and it's like, yeah, this will totally work. And it actually ended up working out really well, because Steven Universe was having a new special, Together Alone, on New Year's Eve, so that worked out. And I didn't even realize it, so, it seemed like I planned it. I totally didn't. Oh well. But basically, I had a long time to do this. I knew I could get it ready in a month, and I could get a really good one-shot, and it's the day of, and I still haven't came up with anything. And by still haven't came up with anything, I mean I haven't even started trying to come up with anything other than the name, which I didn't even end up using. So, basically, I lay out a very simple story because I'm flipping through the monster manual. Goblins. Those will work. I put goblins in the story, it's centered around them. I have a very rushed out story about, he has a potion that can disguise him as a goblin, and, he has to, sneak into the goblin base and, figure out when they go to sleep. So that, so the guard can invade for him without him having to do it. No, he has to come in because, well, whatever, I've only got an hour. That's basically how the story ended up working out, script-wise. My script was, like, this long, and I had a font of, like, 18. So, you know it's gonna be good. And the player I was DMing for, the thing that really lies the nail in my coffin is, this wasn't some new player who will be impressed no matter what I do, basically, as a Dungeon Master. This is, like, an experienced player. Like, he's played for almost, like, 2 years. And I've never DM'd in my life. If you've watched my Dissolution Dragon video, that's the same player, the guy who's the fighter Battlemaster, that's this guy. Except I'm not doing it for that character, I'm doing it for a level 3 character. So, I don't even know what to put up against this guy. I just have to test everything out, basically. So, I start the story off with probably the only actually fleshed out element of it, which was the very beginning. And it was basically, you've been training as a paladin, because he's a tiefling paladin. You've been training as a paladin for a very long time in this town called Speakhelm, in the special intuition, basically, the special school, and you've finished basic training, which is why you're level 3, not, like, level 20. And you are going to go to more advanced training, but you've been given a month's leave, and you were invited by one of your friends from the town of, I basically made up a name on the spot, Talnrock, to come back. And do you want to know what the player responded with? I've got a big backstory about this hometown you're describing. I didn't think of that name, so that's a pretty cool name. I'll call it that. And I freaked out. Obviously not visibly, but internally very much so, because now I had to fit in not only my ideas, but his ideas to make sure everything worked out smoothly. It all ended up working out, but it was still pretty crazy, for me at least. So, the first option I actually gave him was, oh, go through this path or this path. The, like, shorter path that'll get you to your destination faster, but has more powerful monsters, or this path that has less powerful monsters, but will get you slower. So basically, more weaker monsters, or less more powerful monsters. He chose less more powerful. Came through, it was kobolds. Pretty comedic thing happened. The same kobold escaped twice. I know I pronounce it cobalt. I'm supposed to pronounce it kobold. I'm sorry. But basically, I just had to flesh out an element of, he gives you a potion because you've spared him twice. And the reason he's sparing this kobold is because in his character's information thing is basically, I don't like killing. I'm willing to kill if the person that I'm killing will, like, affect something that might do something really bad, but I don't like to kill. That was a really good story element to me because it would make for some pretty good moments and fit for a paladin. So we kept going through the game, and he finally got to his hometown. And this is D&D, so you know, there were goblins raiding it. As usual. As per usual. So, basically, he fought off the goblins with help from a town guard member who had a crossbow and greatsword. And he finished, basically, the town guard said, yada yada yada, improvised dialogue, you should go to the inn. They'll give you a free night's stay for helping the town out. He goes to the inn, gets to sleep after some witty as completely improvised can be, dialogue with the barkeep, basically. And he wakes up, goes out the inn, and sees that there is the mayor holding a huge gathering. And the mayor sort of beckons him over, like, with a little hand signal, and he says, I have bad blood with the royal family, by the way. So that exists. So basically, while he's going over, and since this isn't real life, it's literally, like, in a snap, he's going over, I'm just going through every way I can try to implement this, so it's like, oh no, I need to look like a good dungeon master, and give him a better experience. And he goes over, I just ask him, do you have bad blood with the mayor specifically? No, just his kin. Oh God, okay. So, I'm basically having the mayor, like, say, oh, and this is the man who defended the town. He'll be going off to do, like, oh, blah blah, random stuff to the citizens. He did such a good job as a paladin. Now that he's trained, the citizens clap. And then the mayor pulls him aside. And the mayor's son walks over. And the paladin looks at him. And I realize the paladin has something that, like, apparently hurts people that he looks at for some reason. So I have to be like, you look at him, but just please don't activate that ability. Please no. And he keeps walking through. So now I'm like, okay, we're a little more on the rails. Thank God I can re-rail this story, which is what I think, at least. I ask him, did you have any special relationships with anyone else in the town? He says, no. I'm like, okay, I can still do this whole royal scientist thing. I say the mayor, like, beckons over his royal scientist who has a new potion he's created that turns you to look like a goblin for a week. But you can also, like, dispel it and then respell it at will, basically. And it'll still just last for a week. And he gives the player this potion, and just, the plan is basically, you go into the goblin base, figure out their schedule so we know the best time to invade. Then, we can invade. Because that was how my story ended up working out. So, it seems like the player's like, yeah, okay, that's all I gotta do. It seems like, at least. It seems like he's on the same page. So he continues walking through basically this little forest area I laid out with tracks for him to follow and for the, like, little goblins he's following to go through the trees, that kind of stuff. And he gets to the place. He's sort of waiting behind a tree with his, like, basically finger ready because magic user, because he's a paladin. And I say there are 4 scouts walking around, and there are 2 guards. Now, pause for a minute. What I planned for this story, was he drinks the potion. He basically just, like, he purposely gets caught by the scouts. They initiate him in. And then he tries to figure out their schedules, goes back to his place, and then they invade. But this guy, he says, I make a little quake beneath the scouts. Because he has a special spell which basically just makes dramatic effects happen. Not sure of the name, but he's able to basically make, like, doors open dramatically and make little quakes under people, that kind of stuff. Small effects that don't actually have any in-game effect. Usually. But I decide, since it's he has a really creative use here. I decide to allow him to basically frighten the scouts a little. Not an actual in-game effect, just they're frightened and they beckon over the guards. Just for a little flavor. And then he walks through the doors where the guards were guarding. I just sort of, my eyes widen. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what he was playing. Oh, okay. He walks in, and he says, I wait for activity. Because basically, he made the quake, he walked in, he walks back out, and he's like, did you hear that earthquake too? Because he's apparently really, really smart in these situations. So, the scouts are like, what's your position? Because I wanted to basically crack his facade, he has to fight these guys, then he can go through with the original plan, because that's what I thought would happen. Nope, he's quick on his feet too, darn it. And he says, I am I'm basically a looter. I go out and loot. And previously, he has heard these people talking about their king, basically, their boss. And he says, before they have any suspicion about that's not an actual position, it was specially assigned by your boss. And I'm just like, they're convinced. They're only goblins. They're totally convinced. So they walk through. Technically, he actually did all this when they were walking into the room with the treasure, but, you know, I'm not quick on my feet. He is. So, I'm not quick on my feet recounting a story, at least. So he walks into this room with all of this treasure, basically, and the goblin has already asked him a question about, hey, where'd you get all those weapons on your back? Because he's got, like, a rapier and 5 javelins, and he said, oh, I got them from looting, and that's why I said looter, because he said, oh, I got them from looting. He impressed people with his, like, rapier throwing skills, that kind of stuff. Fun little flavor stuff. So, the goblin says, put your weapons in here now. And basically, what the player says is, no! And he knocks him cold out. Like I said, he didn't want to kill him, so he just knocked him out. So then, he does put his weapons down in there, and he says, I'll wait for the big bad to come in. Which is crazy smart. And I'm like, I don't want him to fight the big bad already. We still got, like, 5 hours left. No, like 6 hours left for this game. And I'm like, you're waiting for a while, and the guards shift positions. So he sees there are 2 goblins walking in the doors on one side of him. They walk in, and they're just like, why are you here? He says something about, oh, he was knocked out, a stone fell on his head, and I've been guarding him for a while. The goblins are really like, yeah, good job on you, good job guarding him. Then, the other guards come in, and, the player used an excuse about, oh, the earthquake must have made the rocks fall. The other guards come in, the other guards ask, was there an earthquake? And they say, yes, because he created an earthquake. So they're switching out positions, and I say, like, oh, from what you can see from the door opening, you can see that it's about noon. And he's like, oh, I know the time. They switch positions now, because that was a pretty important thing for his job. Not his actual goblin job, but his job from the town. So, the guards going back in say, hey, you follow us, there's a meeting going on, apparently. And they're walking through, and there's a meeting. I realize, I can't have the actual king here, because if the king is here, he'll know that the player wasn't assigned a position, so I decide, the king's son is here. I make up a character real quick, who is the son, and I say, oh, the king's son is here, and he asks you what position is, but the guards say what it is. Basically rewarding him for actually working through all these problems, instead of just killing people. So he's in, they're calling the thing, and he says, oh, and also, since you're a looter and should be experienced with walking in the paths, you will go with this, like, legion. that he's assembled. He's basically assembled all the fighters of the goblins, because they don't have many. They're not a big clan. There's only like 30 of them. So, and a lot of them are just like cleaning up positions. Sorry if you hear background noise, by the way. So he assembles the Legion and he says, "You'll be going with them." So it's 3 brutes, 2 bowmen, 1 magi, all goblins. So I let them sort of start walking. First day, and I say, they all see a small cart going in the distance, and they decide we should have some goblins go after it, but we shouldn't all go after it and risk it. Only 3 of us should. So they say, 2 brutes, 1 bowman. Basically, the player's walking through the forest with these guys, kills them. Well, he doesn't kill them, actually. He knocks them out, all of them, which is cool on him, because I basically just gave... He's hiding his rapier this entire time in, like, a backpack thing, and I say, oh, basically, that rapier can knock people out, because you really want that ability. While still doing a good amount of damage. They just can't be killed. So he knocks them out. He goes over the cart, still in goblin disguise, and he explains everything. I let him dispel the disguise real quick to show them, and he says, I still have to get rid of these goblins that I knocked out. So the people riding the cart, it's a bard and a knight. They say, oh, we'll take them in the cart. They put them in the cart, and they say, we'll be watching you to make sure you're fine. So the people continue walking. There's a few very intimidating things about, like, oh, there's a few things to test Henry, basically, the player. And it's like, oh, they kill a cow, but you're a paladin, you don't really want to eat this. Are you still going to eat it to make sure you fit in? The Magi suspects that you might not actually be part of this clan. You might actually be a faker. Do you convince him? He convinces him instead of killing him. Then there's like, oh, he actually makes dents in their armor so that it's easier for people to shoot him. Basically, they have a lower AC. All this stuff, and eventually, he gets to the village. And it looks, he's also already sent a little bird, basically just saying, oh, prepare for this attack. Because he's suggested to the goblins, we should do a Infernal Shield attack. All the brutes pull out their shields, all the bowmen start shooting, and the Magi starts healing people that get damaged. Which seems like a valid strategy, but he just says, prepare for this type of attack. Prepare all your guys. So they're walking through. Now, since he's taken out some people, it's just 1 Magi. Sorry. Lost my train of thought there. 2 brutes, 1 bowman, and 1 Magi. No. Once again, I fail. Actually, it was always 4 brutes, 3 bowmen, 1 Magi. Now it's 3 brutes, 2 bowmen, 1 Magi. I'm sorry, I'm really bad with these story things because I don't plan them out, basically. In the moment or out of the moment, apparently. And basically, they walk in, and I say, there are 4 guards there. I assume what's going through the players' mind is, you're only giving me 4 guards to work with? Because all they had was crossbows, 2 of them had greatswords, 2 of them had long swords. And then I say, and you hear a little thunk right behind you. Because he's in the very, very back of all the people, all the goblins invading. He looks behind him, there's a bow on the arrow on the ground. He looks up, there are 2 bowmen hidden in the trees. So basically, it's a 6v6 fight, with him being the big benefactor. He's the guy that tips the scales as the 7th. So the goblins, they go through the strategy, they put up their shields, they, like, prepare their arrows, the Magi starts preparing a spell, and the player is like, oh, I'm going to prepare a little thing that lets me do more damage, basically. I'm like, really? You're not going to try and do anything else? He's like, yep, I'm doing that. So, all the people are moving up, except the Magi. He's staying back. And the player just knocks him out. Right, 1 hit. And all of the bowmen and brutes look back, panicked, because they just realized, well, this goblin dude did that, because he's just flashed out of his disguise, and now he just looks like a human. And some of them are figuring out, like, he was disguised, and some of them are like, this random human just killed our guy. Either way, they're all panicked now. So, they're all still trying to work out their strategy and use it, but it's just working horribly. The bowmen are given good cover fire right behind in the trees, and only like one guy figures out that they're there, and it's the brute, so he can't really do anything. Then even when the bowmen figure out for the goblin side, they get killed almost immediately. And like the bowmen that are trying to go after the actual town guard, the town guard doesn't get hit once. Not the bowmen in the trees for the town guard, not the people on the ground for the town guard, none of that. And you know how I said Henry broke in their armor a little bit for the goblins? Well, that actually ended up playing in his favor. He was trying to attack a goblin who had a shield up. No, who didn't have a shield up. And I said, darn it, you almost hit, but you miss. And he says, are you factoring in the part that I'm aiming for, the broken in part? And I just say, darn it, you actually do hit. So, he heals up after this entire battle. He wins, obviously, because of his superior planning. He heals up, and it's time to go in. He gets all the people from that caravan, which is just the bard and the knight. Those people in the caravan put all the people that are knocked out in their cart, the goblins, in the local jail. The people on the ground that Henry is knocked out from the battle, they put in the local jail. And now they organize for everyone to try and come in full frontal attack. It's the 4 people with crossbows / greatswords / longswords, the 2 tree bowmen, and the bard and the knight from the caravan. So they're going up. Basically, the player, I remind him, they're the 4 scouts and the 2 guards. But the scouts aren't there yet. They're scouting ahead. And he says, okay, let's take out these guards. He takes out the guards flawlessly because it's only 2 goblins and 8 of them-ish. 4, 6, 9 of them, even better. And he says, I'll prepare 3 of the town bowmen to stand here and wait for the scouts to come around. I say, good planning. He walks in, and the guards were shifting. So the 2 other guards are coming in. They're surprised. The party, basically, at this point, except it's 8 NPCs and the 1 player, takes out these 2 guys. And I say, he hears, like, commotion up in the top, because this is basically a cave entrance. He walks back up, he helps the bowmen defeat scouts, goes back down, and I say, do you want to open these doors dramatically, or just like a normal person? Because he has the dramatic thing, and he's like, dramatically. So, he opens them. A little bell rings, because he prepared a bell on there for if anyone came in, like, way earlier, so I just have that little reminder. And all of these random goblins that are just, like, cleaning up, and they're doing all these innocent things, are just, like, surprised like crazy. And he says, I'll send all of these 8 people that I have with me out to tie up all these people, but not kill any of them, because they seem to be pretty innocent in all of this. I say, okay, sound tactics. I just sort of let him get away with it. No checks needed, because it's not happening in the moment, and it's like 8 trained professionals against, like, a rough estimate of, like, 20 goblins that are just, like, completely untrained, just cleaning. And they're sort of okay with being tied up, because they know if they fight back, they'll probably be killed by these humans. / whatever race these people are. So, Henry walks in. I say, do you want to open the doors dramatically again? He's like, nope. He opens the doors non-dramatically. And there's the boss, Glurknik, or whatever I called him, and his son right beside him. And he says, I throw one of my 3 vials of acid that I have prepared at Glurknik right away. And it hits his son. It misses Glurknik, but for some flavoring, I'm like, it hits his son. Glurknik has his son run away. Glurknik grabs this, not giant sword, but pretty big sword. Not for him, but for Henry. It's just, like, a little bigger than what a normal townsperson would be able to carry, but the player would be able to carry it. So, Glurknik stands up, just me versus you, or whatever I had him say in Broken Common. And it's time for them to fight, basically. So they start fighting. Glurknik, like, pulls down a chandelier and throws it at him. The player, like, still uses vials of acid, and he, like, attacks Glurknik, and Glurknik starts pulling out healing potions, and he says, shouldn't the people have finished tying up the people already? And I'm like, few of them have. And I say, 2 bowmen come in to help, and then Glurknik says, I told you, my forces are much stronger than you can believe. And the player's sort of like, no, I just said my guys come in. And I say, I know. And Glurknik just puts his hand on a little artifact he has, and 2 magical bowmen come up. Just the same stats as these bowmen, just magical. So, he's fighting Glurknik. Glurknik pulls out his last potion. Bowman shoots it out of the air, even though that's not how it works. I just wanted something dramatic to happen. And Henry vanquishes Glurknik. And basically takes out the magical bowman. Even though he has really low health, with the help of the other bowman, he's able to do it. And they take all the tied up people back to the caravan, and that's the end of it. They get back to the town, and he has a successful time. Successful time. And all of this was not at all planned by me. This was all the player. It just comes to show you, sometimes improvisation is good. Well, peace, guys.